Hello. Welcome back, everybody, to your favorite podcast on the entire planet, the Chirping Bird. I'm your beautiful and just very motivational, inspiring host, Tal. I just wanted to say welcome back and make sure that you make someone's day today. I am trying to just be a new positive, motivational, inspirational person. So my new motto that I want to start saying on the podcast is make someone smile today. Be positive to someone. It's just something that I think we should all live by. So go do your good deed for the day. Anyways, with all of that intro shenanigans out of the way, welcome. I am actually in a very different location than I was a week ago, 2 weeks ago, when I recorded my last podcast episode. I am actually in a apartment. We meaning Andre and I, are in a brand new apartment. I mean, it's Andre's apartment, but I'm going to be living here part-time. So I'm deeming it my apartment as well. So when I reference our apartment or the apartment, I'm talking about Andre's apartment, and I'm just basically mooching apartment privileges off of him. So that's basically where I'm at, where I have been living, which is really exciting. I've just really fallen in love with the whole apartment living concept. It's just very nice having your own space, but it's not as big as a house, so you don't need to worry about cleaning the entire house, and there's not as many responsibilities as your own property, like a house, for example, paying mortgage and everything else. And this apartment also has a lot of the things included in it, so you don't need to worry about paying all of the extra things like heat and water, those type of things. So that's really nice. So I thought I would dedicate this entire episode to moving and just the whole process of moving and balancing, everything else that you've been doing in your life with the whole moving process. And I thought I would just do, keep with the trend that's been going on my channel lately, which if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, freaking do so, because I've been doing moving vlogs 2 times a week and then podcast episode once a week. So make sure you guys are subscribed for that, because that's some really good content that is coming out for March, and I've already got a few vlogs up already. It's just very exciting. So make sure you guys subscribe so you can see all of that content. But I just thought that I would kind of stick with the theme, do a little bit of a moving podcast, so I can talk about all the things that I'm not talking about in my vlogs, because a lot of the vlogs are reorganizing the kitchen, or not reorganizing, but organizing the kitchen, furnishing the living room, or making the bedroom a bedroom, those type of things, and not really the juice, the dirt, the tea on moving. So this is what this entire episode is going to be about. I wanted to talk about first how to balance your school, if you're in school, or work, and moving, because the past week of moving all the furniture, I've basically had to, I don't want to say rediscover how to balance my life, but I've really had to step back and just take a look at how I'm using my time and what are my priorities, what I need to do to succeed in school, but also be able to move into the apartment and make sure that I have an appropriate living space and an appropriate learning environment for myself. So that's definitely been a huge, chunk of the past week and a half, is really trying to figure out, kind of get into this new groove of living where I'm balancing doing my schoolwork and moving furniture in. So I would spend last week I basically spent every single day moving into the apartment, and I wasn't really focused on schoolwork as much. But now that all of the furniture, oh my gosh, I was about to say furniture. All of the furniture is moved in, I can spend a lot more time focusing on my schoolwork in the morning. I, really want to get the schoolwork out of the way almost and, do all of my work stuff in the morning. And then the afternoon part of the day is a lot of reorganizing the kitchen or filming a new video for you guys, doing the stuff that I guess is like the fun, in quotations, the fun stuff. And the morning time is the hard work, the editing, the schoolwork, the recording podcast episodes, that kind of stuff. So I've really had to figure out that balance because, when you're in your own home, living with your parents, which is what I've been doing. I've lived with my mom for the past year and a half now. So, obviously I lived with my mom basically my entire life, but then I moved out for college. I was doing that whole live on your own thing, but now being back living with my mom for the past year and a half, I've kind of not really had to balance all of that stuff. It's more been like you have the entire day from the second you wake up to the second you go to sleep to work on your schoolwork, do editing, do podcasts, do vlogs, all of that kind of stuff. So I've had much more time when I'm living at home because I don't need to worry about, cleaning as much. Obviously, like I do my part and clean, but, I'm not really needing to worry about taking care of an entire property. So it's definitely a bit of a switch up in that sense, but I'm really enjoying it. I just feel like a lot more mature, I guess, in a way, because I know, okay, today I have to vacuum the apartment. So I need to make sure I set time aside in my day and in my schedule to vacuum and not watch YouTube videos for 45 minutes. I can do that later during some downtime if I have time. And I know it is important to have downtime, and don't get me wrong, those, I guess, self-improvement or self-help, self-care moments are very important in your daily life. It's also difficult when you have to balance everything else in your life to make sure that you're living a proper and clean lifestyle. So, making sure that vacuuming is a priority, then sitting down and watching a Netflix series in one sitting. So that's just been a big part about the past week and a half with finding that new balance between school and, moving and living in your own space, own apartment, or not even apartment, but own space, basically. When you're living in your own space, you oftentimes overlook a lot of the things that need to get done and a lot of the things that you need to do in a day. So I thought that I would do a little bit of a segment in this episode of all the things that get overlooked when you're moving into an apartment. So basically it's a list. I've created a list of all the things that no one ever thinks you need when you move into your own apartment, or, even if you're moving out of your parents' house for school and, you're living on your own now. A lot of the times I know that college dorms will have a lot of these things already, or there's services cleaning services and stuff available for dormitories to use. But when you're in your own apartment, you don't have the housemaid people coming in once a week to clean your mess. So you have to do that all on your own. And a lot of the other things that you don't really need when you're living in a dormitory for school, you need in an apartment, because when you're in school and you're working on studying full time, as well as just casually coasting by in your life. You know, you're not cooking all of your meals. You're not needing to worry about a full load of dishes, those kind of things. You don't actually think about all of the small things that you need, and you just only have to really furnish one room. You don't need to worry about filling up a kitchen. You don't need to worry about filling up a living room, a bedroom, a dining room, bathroom. You know, you only really need to worry about your room and then like a bath caddy, or if you have your own bathroom. I know when I went to college, we had our own bathroom, so we did have to worry about like a shower curtain and a bath mat, but that's about it for the bathroom. So it's all of the small things that no one ever thinks about. And I created a list, so I'll go through it. But I wanted to, I guess, do the whole kitchen thing first, because like that's my favorite part of an entire apartment or like house or everything. I just love the kitchen because I love cooking. So I, you know, really wanted to go over like some of the tools that you might need. Anyways, I'm rambling. But baking sheets. People do not, well, okay, I'm saying people, but I really mean me. I did not realize that baking sheets come in handy a lot more than you think, especially if you're cooking, putting something into the oven like a frozen lasagna or something, and you need to put a baking sheet under it so that way cheese doesn't drip everywhere, oil's not like going all over the oven. It's very important to have one of those baking sheets, just like a plain I guess they're tin, I don't even know, aluminum, whatever they're made out of, metal. And that way you can like pop something on it, put it in the oven. A lot of people don't think that you'll need it. Like maybe just have one casserole dish and you're good to go. But it's very nice to have a baking sheet. And I know you can get them at, you know, HomeSense, Winners, any sort of like discount home store. You don't really need to go to like freaking CB2 to get a baking sheet. You could literally go to Walmart and get one, and it works just as good as some designer brand home goods store. So baking sheet is like number one. The next thing is a dish rack. We kind of forgot about a dish rack when like the first couple days we were in the apartment. We didn't start like actually sleeping here until the second night, but the first 2 nights we're kind of like, wait, we need a dish rack. Like, how are we going to dry dishes? Because there's no dishwasher in this apartment. So you kind of have to, you know, think about all of those little things. Like a dish rack, you need one of those so you can dry your dishes. But that was definitely a big one. Ice cube trays. I know me personally, I freaking love ice cubes in my water, in my fizz, in my iced coffee. Well, iced coffee, yes, hence the name. I love ice. So making sure that we had ice cubes was probably another one. Obviously for me, I literally packed, that was the first thing I packed. Like I legit needed to make sure I had ice cubes here. So it was more of a subconscious thought that I had already, but a lot of people wouldn't think about that. And especially if you're having people over, I mean, obviously not right now because of COVID, but in normal times, you know, maybe your guests want some nice icy water, so you need to have ice cubes, because a lot of fridges in apartments don't have like the automated ice maker machines in them. I mean, maybe some do, but that's pretty bouge. So making sure you have ice cube trays. The next thing is probably hand soaps. And I know this isn't really like kitchen, but it still is kitchen because we have one in our kitchen. But hand soaps that can be put in your bathroom, kitchen, I guess laundry room if you have a laundry room in your apartment, which is nice. But you can get all of them. I know you can get them at the dollar store, but we have ours from Bath and Body Works because they have some really amazing scented ones. So I think the one in the kitchen is like a lemon, cleaning lemon scent, and it smells absolutely bomb. And then we have a watermelon one going right now. Absolutely freaking love them. They're just like the pump foamy ones. And just, you know, thinking about those small things is, you know, oftentimes gets overlooked, and you don't really realize that you're going to need those hand soaps. So I'm here to tell you, you need them. Okay, next thing is hand towels. So, I mean, obviously those can go in the bathroom as well, but like definitely kitchen towels so you can dry knives on. You can just use it to clean up spills. If you're living with me, you need like 50,000 of them because I spill water 24/7 or coffee. Yeah, so just making sure you have those hand towels in your kitchen. Garbage cans. Oh my gosh. We were just literally throwing everything into a shopping bag for like half a week because we just kept forgetting about a garbage can. We're like, oh, we don't really need one. And I don't know, you just don't really think about it. But it is so nice having a garbage can. The garbage is away. It's not out. You're not smelling it. It's got like one of those lids. Like you push the little foot pedal at the bottom and the lid pops open. So everything's like contained and just, I don't know, it's a lot nicer. So that is definitely something that I feel like people overlook. And then sponges. So anything that you need to clean dishes with. I know, especially here, because we don't have a dishwasher, we need things like sponges or a dish scrubber brush thing. Andre got one that you can fill up the soap in the handle, and then when you brush it, the soap comes out. I literally think this is the coolest thing ever. I've never seen one of these until Andre moved out and his roommate had one. And I'm like, oh my God, this is literally the coolest thing ever. And now he got one and I absolutely love it. Like, it's so cool. It's got the soap in it, and then when you fill it up, it just looks so pretty because it's clear, and it's so cute. Love it. Highly recommend. I will try, and if you're watching this on YouTube or listening to this on YouTube, I'll link it down in the description so you guys can find it. Okay, so then the next thing in the kitchen is probably like all of your necessity, like food essentials. So flour, sugar, condiments, those type of things. So that was definitely something that Andre's like, we don't need that. But then the second day I'm like, do you want to make cookies? Oh yes, let's make cookies. So good thing we had flour, because, you know, those are the type of things that you need. And especially if you're doing like, maybe you want to do breaded chicken, or you want to do, I don't know, hamburgers, you need condiments. So it's a lot of those little things that you kind of forget you need when you're living, especially with your parents, when those things are already in the fridge and you're kind of like, okay, it's ketchup, like it literally stays there forever and you never need to buy a new one for like half a year. So you just kind of forget about them. So definitely when moving into your own apartment, don't forget the condiments, don't forget baking supplies. Now, if you're not a baker, don't get like freaking baking soda, baking powder, chocolate chips, and, you know, pancake mix or whatever. But making sure that you have flour is probably like the key thing, and sugar, because a lot of times if you're cooking something, recipes will call for a little bit of flour. Recipes will call for some sugar. You know, you have guests come over and they want sugar in their coffee. Well, if you don't have sugar, your freaking guests are going to have black coffee. And if they are not black coffee stans, well, they're never going to want to come back and visit you. So have sugar. And then I guess moving on from the kitchen, like I'm literally sitting in the dining room right now looking at the kitchen, trying to see if there's anything else, but I covered everything on my list for the kitchen wise. And now it's just kind of moving on into the rest of the apartment. But I think probably the next one I wanted to talk about is like random miscellaneous things. So definitely shoe mats. So that is something that we kind of, I guess we just like forgot about until we were in the dollar store looking to get like cheap, like not utensils, but like a spatula and a flipper and those kind of things. So we saw a bath mat, or oh my God, I keep calling it a bath mat. We saw a shoe mat and we're like, oh my gosh, yeah, we need this. So when Andre comes home from work, his muddy boots are not getting mud all over the apartment. They just go right onto the shoe mat, and it just keeps everything more contained. And we can put it in the closet at the front of the apartment. So everything is literally put away on the shoe mat. It just makes things a lot more organized. And then we also got a shoe rack because, you know, with the two of our shoe obsessions combined, there are a lot of shoes and one shoe mat does not do it. So we needed the shoe rack, and that just really helps with the whole organization part in the front hallway, I guess, or like the mudroom section of the apartment. And then I guess the next thing is probably rugs. Now, when we first got here, I was like, this echo is going to be way too much for me. Like, I am not going to be able to work. I'm not going to be able to record podcast episodes or vlogs because it's just going to be way too echoey. But as soon as we started moving furniture in, it got a lot better. But I think rugs is like a huge one because that really just like traps all the sound, or like balances out all the sound. So it's really helpful if you don't want an echoey vibe. Get a rug or two. You know, you can get cheaper rugs are expensive. No one ever tells you that when you're a kid. You're like, okay, it's wool and they've made it into a pattern. It's probably like $20. Rugs are forking expensive, and I remember I bought my first rug and I literally cried because it was $100 and it's not even that big, and I ruined it like 2 months later because I spilled coffee all over it. We washed it and now it's even more ruined, but we still use it because like it doesn't look that bad. I mean, it looks kind of bad. It's just like all faded and washed away because we had to put stain remover on it and put it in the washing machine when I spilled coffee all over it. But definitely making sure that you have like sound blockades or barriers in your apartment. It just really helps fill in the space and make things less echoey, and it gives just more of a homey atmosphere, which is really nice because sometimes apartments can feel very like, I don't want to say stock, but you know that everyone's apartment basically has the same outline or same format as everyone else in the building, and you want to make it personal. You want to make it your own. So adding rugs with colors that you like, it just really gives everything a little bit more of a personal touch. But I think that's kind of, oh my gosh, you know what I did forget to say was linens. Now, everyone has their bed sheets and, you know, a towel or whatever, but you want to make sure that you have a few extra towels. You want to have a few extra bed sheets because I know, especially in this apartment, because we don't have in-unit washer and dryer, we can either go down to the, you know, main floor where they have all the washers and dryers, or just go to Andre's parents' house or my mom's house to do laundry. But, you know, if you're not doing that every week, you know, you might need a new towel. So you're going to need extra linens, extra towels, extra kitchen towels, extra cloths, extra hand towels, bath mats, pillowcases, sheets, any type of linen you could possibly think of. Make sure you have like a backup reserve of it, either one or two extras, just in case anything happens, or like, you know, you pick up some homeless guy off the street and you want to let him shower and you just need to give him a towel. I don't know. But yeah, definitely make sure you guys have linens or like extra linens to keep on hand. But that's kind of like everything that gets overlooked and I feel like people kind of forget about. So if you're going to move into your own apartment and you're looking for some ideas of what you need to get, definitely listen to this podcast or send this podcast to someone who's living on their own or is planning on living on their own so they know. But yeah, it's just highly recommended that you just listen to my podcast in general. I'm such a plug for my own stuff. It's actually painful because all I talk about on my Instagram and my YouTube channel is like my content. I don't talk about anyone else's because I'm literally obsessed with my own content that I create, like my own stuff, which is good. Like I literally watch so many different creators and influencers and stuff, and I really like their content as well. But you know, you got to be your own biggest fan. It just really helps you stay motivated, stay positive, just helps you really flourish and be successful. Anyways, that was my little try to be motivational segment in this podcast episode. But yeah, I guess I don't really know. Like, there's not really too much to talk about with moving. Like, it's just a matter of organizing everything, which was kind of a bitch to do because you have to put everything away in cupboards, find spots for everything, and that's really forking annoying. Like, that was probably the most annoying part about the kitchen, was finding where to put all of the cups, where to put all of the plates, where to put legit everything. So that was like really annoying to do. But now that that's done, it's a lot nicer to just like walk into the kitchen, open up the cupboard, and you see all the plates there. Or walk into the kitchen and see all the cups, or walk into the bathroom and see all of your cleaning supplies or something. Just like having a place for everything. That way things are not in boxes just randomly throughout the apartment. So that was basically what I was doing for a whole week. And oh my gosh, you know what I have to tell you guys about is, so it's a little bit of a story time, but on the weekend, Andre had to get a moving truck for the couch and the dining room table, all of the bigger furniture items. And there was a little bit of an incident with the moving truck. I think it's hilarious. I think he's probably, if he listens to this, which he's probably not, but if he listens to this, he's probably gonna be like, it wasn't that funny, but I think it's hilarious. So he got his moving truck. Everything was fine and dandy. Got everything into the moving truck with his friends. Got it, got it into the truck fine. Like nothing, no issues there. So then he started driving to the apartment, and he pulled up right outside the apartment, and there's a bit of this overhang that covers the main entrance doors. And I guess he had kind of like misjudged the amount of space that is there. And because the moving truck is like actually pretty big, he hit the overhang of the apartment. And at first, when he like looked up at the overhang, like once he got out, there's this huge chunk of concrete missing. And I was in his car, driving his car while he was driving the moving truck. And I come out of the car and I look up at the concrete chunk, the huge concrete chunk missing. And I'm like, what the actual heck happened here? Like, did you actually take out a huge chunk of concrete? But he looked around and there was no concrete on the ground. So I'm assuming it was probably from a moving truck that had, come in before and hit it, just because, there was no chunks of concrete lying around. But then he looked at the moving truck itself, and there was a chunk of plastic just like protruding out of the truck. And I just thought it was the funniest thing. He kind of cried. Well, he didn't cry, but like, he had to pay extra for it for damaging the truck. But I think it's kind of funny because like the truck was so big that he absolutely bodied the truck into the overhang of the apartment. Probably felt like an earthquake on the first floor because the truck is so big. Like, what happens if you're on the, or well, I guess it wasn't the first, not the ground floor, but like the first level of apartments. So level 2, floor 2. If you have like a moving truck hit your balcony, oh my gosh, you're probably thinking there's an earthquake going on. So I thought that was kind of funny, and I really had to share that on the podcast because I just think it's just a time. Moving is just a full story time on its own. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that little story time, made you giggle a little bit. But yeah, I think that's probably like the funniest part about moving. Everything else is like not that funny. It's just kind of annoying, because you have to find your new routine, especially when you're living with someone. You have to really take in consideration your whole life is now with another person. Like, you have to share a bathroom, you have to share the kitchen, you have to go to sleep together, wake up together. So I thought like maybe I could tell you guys, give you a little insight on like how I built my new routine. And I mean, that really goes back into like the balancing school and moving, or like school and living on your own. But it's basically like a routine on how I'm getting along, or like doing with being in my own place and with someone else. So I thought that would be kind of fun. But I guess the weirdest part was waking up together waking up together every single day is not as weird as going to sleep every night. I mean, it's great. Love going to sleep and waking up with Andre every day. But the only weird thing is like you have to, I'm brushing my teeth. The bathroom's not that big. So it's like I'm brushing my teeth, but you need to like be mindful that someone else is there and probably wants to get into the bathroom. So it's just like balancing that whole, I guess, area of living with someone. But, it's just like a matter of getting used to waking up with Andre. He gets up early for work, and like I don't have work that I have to go into a place. So I could honestly get up at 3 p.m. if I wanted to. So it's just like knowing that his alarm is going off at 6:45 and I will be getting up at that time, because how could I not wake up to an alarm? Anyways, that's probably like a different like part of my routine that I'm having to get used to. And then just trying to like fill up my entire day with work and cleaning and cooking and hand washing all of the things that we use, because there's no dishwasher here. So it's just a matter of like balancing everything out. And like I said, I usually try and do my quote unquote work stuff, like the more annoying work stuff in the morning time, get it over with. Then I have lunch and I have the rest of the afternoon just to like chill and do whatever. If I want to edit, then I can do that in the afternoon. If I want to clean, I can do that in the afternoon. But trying to get through the schoolwork process and like filming, and usually filming, I do vlogs, so that's all day long. But if I'm doing a sit down or something, or recording a podcast episode, making sure I do that all in the morning, because also it gives me a quiet time to do it, because Andre comes home in the evening. Sometimes he gets off work a little bit early, and I don't want to be recording a podcast episode and he come home in the middle of an episode and that's it. Like I can't really record when someone comes home, because all the extra noise in the apartment can affect, what you're hearing and what you're watching. So it's really nice just having the morning time where it's nice and quiet to do all of my work and do all of the recording, more, quiet needed activities. And then just making sure that, I'm cooking meals, because it can be very easy to get carried away with ordering food or making a bag of popcorn for lunch. So it's just a matter of like making sure I'm cooking home meals. And I mean, I'm pretty good with that because I love cooking and baking and that kind of stuff. So that's never really an issue with me, but I know definitely with other people, it could be an issue. So it's just a matter of like finding that balance of when you're going to do that. So, giving yourself an allotted time during the day to say meal prep for dinners for the week. And then on top of that, you have to make sure that you're stocking your fridge, stocking your pantry, supplies, any cleaning supplies. So, a lot of the times I know when I'm at home with my mom, it's so nice because I don't really need to think about, okay, I need to go grocery shopping on this day because we're running out of food. My mom just kind of is like, okay, we're going to the grocery store today. And that like thinking process is not even needed for me. But when you're on your own, you don't want to get down to the last second and it's 6:30 and you're like, well, we don't really have any food for dinner. So you have to think ahead, plan ahead, and make sure that you have food stocked in your fridge, that kind of stuff. And then, making a night routine with someone is very important. like I said, you got to share the bathroom, brushing your teeth, having showers in the kitchen. The kitchen's only big enough really for, well, it is big enough for 2 people, but it can get cramped if you have 2 people cooking in there. So, you need to be mindful that the other person probably wants to use a specific room by themselves or need some alone time. And you need to kind of work around that, cater to that, I guess, and just really being mindful of the other person in the house that you are living in or apartment that you're living in, but then also being mindful of your neighbors, because when you're in an apartment, you've got people on all sides of you and above, below, that kind of stuff. So you really need to be careful with playing music, or, when we were putting together the bed frame, it was so forking loud, and Andre was like, I really hope no one's trying to sleep. It was like 8:00, so it wasn't late, but it's just kind of like you have to be mindful of everyone else in the building, basically, when you're living in an apartment, just because you're sharing walls and floors and ceilings with everyone. And then the last thing that I kind of think is like worthwhile mentioning, it doesn't really fit into my daily life as much yet, but it's kind of like finding new running routes and workout spots, because when I'm at home at my mom's, I have the neighborhoods that I run in because I've lived there forever, and I know exactly where to go, where not to go. But especially in a new city, it can be difficult. And I mean, I've lived in this city with Andre, well, not just with Andre, but I have lived in this city for probably like 3 years now, on and off. So I do know the area a bit. But if you're living in a totally new city or new part of town, it can definitely take a lot of getting used to. And especially with my anxiety, I don't really like going out into this new neighborhood by myself yet, because I'm not aware of the neighborhood as much as I am aware of the neighborhoods at my mom's house and, where I was living before. You know where to go. You know where not to go. You know the streets. You know how to get back to your place. And here, obviously, everything is new in this neighborhood. So it's going to take me a little bit longer to get used to that. So I haven't even gone on a run outside yet, because I'm just a little bit nervous on if I get lost or where to go. So that's definitely something that I have to get used to and like put into my routine. So, I think definitely that is something that I'm going to work on. I mean, I'm going back to my mom's in a few days anyways, but I'll be here quite often now. So I'll have tons of time to explore the neighborhood, get used to the different places that I should go to or should not go to. Anyways, that is kind of like the routine list thing that I came up with. But I really hope that you got something out of it, because that's kind of like the whole reason why I wanted to film this podcast episode, this moving podcast episode, was for people who need just someone to talk to or someone to listen to about tips or just information that you never really think about when you're planning on moving out on your own. So send this to someone that is moving out on their own or is living on their own. It can also give someone just a little bit more insight onto the whole moving process, which is really nice. And just share it. Just give it some love. Share it to people. Let people know about it. But I hope that everyone really enjoyed it. I think I'm just going to wrap up the episode now because I've been talking for like 40 minutes. So make sure that you guys like it wherever you're listening to it. Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast episodes. Give it a like, follow, subscribe, comment. Love all of those little community tools just tell people about the Chirping Bird, because it's where you'll listen to the best podcast episodes ever. And have an amazing day. Make someone smile today. And I will talk to you guys next week. Bye.